Welcome to the show, Callie.
Thank you.
I know I see you all the time, but we don't really talk about your story that much. Because
No,
usually when I'm off work, you're not here, or when I'm working, you're here. So, Callie and I met, I guess, a little over 2 years ago when we had the meeting center.
yeah,
I
July
think
4th.
July 4th when we opened up. That's what it was.
Yeah, we showed up to the open house.
And that was, I think, July 3rd, or either way, it was like the day before. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. It was a Sunday night, and then that's when we had like a 12 to 8. We were there, and then that's when we met. And then the next day, you guys were there for the first meeting.
Yep.
And what is your clean date?
December 12th of 2017.
Now, why did you, or what are you sober from?
Meth. I did a little bit of everything though.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. How old were you when you started with meth?
I was 18 for meth, but I started using when I was like 12, and that was spice and alcohol.
Now, okay, let's go over that. You were born in Pennsylvania, and how many times did you move in your life with your mom?
Oh, I've moved 12 different schools, and I think I've counted that I've lived in like 30 different homes by the time I was 18.
So no wonder why you were drinking, because it's hard to make friends if you're leaving town all the time.
Yeah, it's definitely super hard, and being that young, like kids don't really keep in touch then.
Yeah. And what else was going on while you were moving around?
Um, I had also been molested by two different family members when I was younger. Grandparents' houses.
Like two different sides of your family?
Yeah, both my grandmothers. A molestation happened in their home.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was at the same time, two separate, two different families.
Yeah, one on my dad's side and one on my mom's side. It was my Nana's ex-boyfriend's brother, and then it was my Gram's husband.
How old were you?
For the first one, I was like 3 or 4, and the other one I think started in 5th grade. No, 4th grade. And then I came out about both when I was in 6th grade.
Yeah, who did you come out to? Your
I
mom?
texted my mom while my step grandfather was, after he was done molesting me, I texted my mom and broke down about both because I was home alone with him and he kept knocking on my door of why it was locked.
You were living there?
No, but I had a custody schedule, and that custody schedule consisted of my dad had me essentially Monday through Friday. My gram got a day, which I don't even remember at this point, but she got a day. My Nana got a day. Everybody got a day. And then my mom had me the first 3 weekends of the month, and my dad had me the fourth.
Oh,
And
okay.
my mom got me the fifth, if any. So, like, I was split up between all four people my entire life.
Now that's got to be devastating sometimes as a kid because you're an only child, so you were just getting dragged all over the place.
All the time. No consistency.
Do you think that spilled over into why you started using alcohol at 12?
Oh, I'm sure. Because that was right around the age I was when I came out about what had happened. And like I lost my whole Graham side of the family because she stayed with him. So like there was like I lost a whole family. Like they were practically dead because they'd rather just keep living with a child molester. Believe it never happened, and my mom made it all up. And
So your mom did believe you?
yeah, she believed me. Nobody else did. They all said that my mom just made it up. Like there was a text to prove.
What do you mean?
I texted my mom. Like I didn't call her over the phone. I didn't nothing. Like I physically texted it all out to my mom.
And do you think that was just easier for you to get it out was by texting instead of having a conversation?
Oh, for sure.
How did she react?
Oh, she believed me right away. She made my Aunt Linda and my Uncle Brian come get me. So I wasn't home alone with Doug because my gram was at work at the time. And when my gram left work, she came there and everything. And my mom was there shortly after all that.
So you were in a room by yourself and he was knocking on the door and you were texting your mom what was going on.
Yeah.
Okay, now I follow.
And then like right after that, me and my dad moved to like a small town where like I had free range of the town because you could walk everywhere. And that's when I started meeting all the kids that were drinking and, trying spice and being bad kids and trying a little bit of it all.
Now, for people that don't know, what's spice?
They call it like synthetic weed. It was legal for a couple of years and then people like start making it on the streets too.
Where you
But when
buy
I was
like
that
at gas
age,
stations?
it's legal still.
At gas stations?
Yeah, like we had older adults going and buying it for us.
Oh, because you had to be 21 to smoke it or something?
Yeah, and I was like 12.
I one time smoked spice. It was up in Canada. It was like, let's see, I was already 21, but I wasn't 22. So it was like 2007. We all drove up to Canada for a long weekend and we left on a Friday and we got there Friday night and my one friend was turning 21 that Monday and he was upset like that nobody was going to go out drinking with him on a Monday night. So I was like, let's just go to Canada for 3 nights because you'll be able to drink because you're going to be you have to be 19 in Canada. So
Yeah.
we drove up and partied for like 3 days straight. And we bought all these like bowls and bongs that were cool as shit. But we couldn't smoke out of them because we couldn't find weed, number one. And number two, we didn't want to like we had to come back with those bongs crystal clear because at customs, if we would have had like any kind of resin in it, they could arrest us for trying to traffic weed. Even though it's such a small amount, it's that kind of bullshit. So we bought small bowls in case that we found weed. This way, we didn't care about
Yeah.
throwing away. They were $5 bowls, and the only thing we could buy was spice. And so we bought that, and we were like almost tripping.
Yeah, like it was very strongly like a hallucinogen and I really think doing that stuff at 12 is what like made me kind of love when I did acid or shrooms because
Yeah,
like it was kind of a very similar effect.
yeah, I agree because
It's
I
that
went
stuff
on a
was legal.
huge.
Like that was a true hallucinogen. Like
I hallucinated more on spice than I did on mushrooms.
oh yeah, for sure.
You know
For
what I mean? Like,
sure. That stuff was strong. Like I'm still surprised that it was legal and I am surprised an adult bought it for us.
you think it's
The
Delta?
adults have money and they want to do it with the kids, like they're gonna buy it.
I feel like it's the new Delta 9 or Delta 8 that you can buy in the gas station now, which is basically weed.
I'm
That's
just traumatized from buying stuff out of a gas station. Like I haven't even tried that stuff.
the I tried the gummies and they were pretty good. Like I would say it wasn't the best kind of like you know what I mean? Like for me RSO has always been like the upper echelon into like where I always was like, okay, this is working. Um, Smoking does it to me too, but I don't really smoke as much as I used to. Um, did you use cannabis in your recovery too, right?
I do. I've had my medical card for like 3 years now. 2 years. This
That's
will
right.
be
Yeah,
one
yeah,
this
because I
year.
think did I help you get signed up?
No, I went through the parts that my mom uses.
Because your mom has her card too.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, I would say we're lucky that we get like a point system. Like a CVS card.
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
sucks. expensive.
I don't even remember what dealers charge just because it's been so long since I've bought from a dealer. Like it's been 6 years since I bought from a dealer.
You should just be allowed to grow it already.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's part of like what they're trying to pass.
It's
So
just gonna
we
take a
can grow
while.
it.
Take a while.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody recently from Ohio and they already passed it like so that it can be legal, but she's like we're not going to have anything open for like months. Like it's going to take forever for everything to get started.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you first tried meth?
I was 18.
You were 18 when you first started it?
Yeah. And it was introduced to me that it was very similar to Adderall, which I had done as a child. It was offered to me. I was like 14 for that.
Oh, okay. So you were like a lot of people where you started with Adderall.
Well, I started with spice. Let's not forget that I
Uh,
started with a hallucinogen at
yeah,
12.
yeah.
I went kind of backwards in my steps here. Like I started with spice, I went to weed, I went to drinking, and then I was offered Klonopins and Adderalls and Neurotins at like 13, 14 for that. I'm going in order here too, from like 12 to 14 now. And drinking occasionally in the mix of all that. And then at the ripe age of 18, well, so like 17, I was a big drinker. 17 to 18, I was a big drinker. And then I wound up with some people that introduced meth like Adderall. And I was like, oh, well, like Adderall used to make me super happy. I was like, sure, I'll try that. Like I had just got out of an abusive relationship that I was in for 4 years. And that is where the meth addiction started. That's
So
what I say. I was really just a big, I did anything.
well, let's backtrack. So this abuse, was it physical or mental or both?
Oh, both. Like I would be I like at one point I lived at a different school and he would be like, "Oh, you're fucking people in the school." Like I couldn't even go to a different school without being accused of something even though I was a quiet shy kid. Like I barely talked to anybody, like let alone having sex in school in ninth grade. Like
How
I was
old was the guy?
he was a year older than me. So I think I was 16 at the time and he was no. So like we started dating when I was like 12 and he was 13. And then we were together for a couple of months. And then I moved in with my mom and we broke up for a couple of months, but would like talk occasionally. But like it was very like mentally abusive then too, because he was like controlling. Why'd you move away? Why this? Why that? Like, oh, you're going to cheat on me if you're far away. Like it won't work. Like all that kind of stuff. And he was young and I was young, but he's a little fucking crazy too.
This podcast is also sponsored by BetterHelp. If you are looking for therapy and not able to get something right away locally, you can do that with them. Within 48 hours, you can find a therapist to get on telehealth with you. I mean, I haven't heard anything but great things from people that have already done it, that watch my show or listen to my show. If you're looking to get 10% off your first month, you can go to betterhelp.com/MJsPNPMCA. That is betterhelp.com/MJsPNPMCA.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was like 13 to, I think I was 17 when I finally like broke up with him for good and like got him out of my life.
It's about time. So I mean, that's 4 year. That is 4 years of like that kind of shit. Especially when you don't even live together. Like,
Well, I ended up moving back in with my dad after I had lived with my mom for like 2.5 years because she was like, "Oh, I'm moving to Florida. Like, you're coming with us." And I'm like, "Fuck you. Like, I got a boyfriend that lives near my dad. Like, I'm going to go move back in with my dad." And then I was closer to him and I was allowed to go spend the night frequently because I was in cyber and he was in cyber. And eventually he dropped out of school because his parents let him. And Like, he was just very negative.
Yeah. Well, because you finished school, right?
I did. I graduated.
Yeah. So, now you're 18 and you're smoking meth?
Yeah, I started smoking. And then that led into, I mean, I was offered Neurotins, Percocets. I did Xanax at one point. Would snort meth occasionally and snort all these other things. And
So you were addicted to snorting as much as you were the drug.
oh yeah, I mean, like, I just did whatever got me high. Like, if somebody offered me something to smoke, sure, I'll smoke it. Somebody offered me something to snort, sure, I'll try it. And then that led into me around a lot of needle users, and I started like, hey, like, I'm not getting as high as you smoking or snorting. Like, why don't you shoot me up too? Like, I want to be on your level. And then I started shooting up. I think that was at like the end of my addiction though, because that was right around the time I was like, I don't know if this is my life. Like, I don't know if I want this to be my life. But I kept going for a couple months like that.
Was there like something that like happened to where you were like, oh shit, I gotta like step away?
Well, between the needle use and I had started venturing into heroin or fentanyl. Who knows what they're actually getting, you know?
Yeah.
Fentanyl.
Probably fentanyl, yeah.
Like,
So how long, you said about 2 months you still did it?
yeah, I think I was like smoking and snorting and using needles for about like 2 months at the end. And then like I started venturing into the heroin, and I was like, I did it like 3 times. And then I started wanting to buy it. And I'm like, let me message my mom and tell her I need rehab. And she called my Nana that same night and made her set me something up for the next morning. And I woke up the next morning and she's like, your Nana's going to be here in like a few minutes. Like, you're just staying put. I'm like, can't I just go to McDonald's for breakfast? They're like, no, you cannot go to McDonald's for breakfast. They're like, eat this ramen. I'm like, I don't want fucking ramen. I want McDonald's. I got no McDonald's that day. I got driven an hour away to Clearbrook rehab. I don't even remember where that is. It's like Wilkes-Barre or somewhere up that way.
Yeah.
And then I was inpatient for 21 days there. And then I was like, I don't want to go home. Like, please don't send me home. Like, I'm going to get high again if you send me home. Like, I'm going to go right back to the same people and places and things. I know I will. Don't send me home. So I was like, find me like a halfway house in Texas. Like, I'll go be close to my uncle, which probably I'm thankful they didn't send me there because my uncle's a big drug addict, but I was naive and young and like, my uncle's great. Learn to realize different.
You definitely would have relapsed.
I would have going there any more than I would have home.
Yeah.
But they found me a nice place out in Florida, Pompano, Florida. It's called First Step. And I was inpatient there from January 1st. And that was my first ever plane trip. Like, I had never been on a plane, and I got dropped off by one rehab and picked up by the other rehab. It was a very scary situation at 18 years old, coming off drugs, like, never been on a plane, and you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah, and then plus you're coming off meth.
Yeah, I mean, I had already been off of it for 21 days by that point. Like, I was off my detox medication. Like, that was my detox place. So, like, the second rehab I was at, like, I had already detoxed. Like, they were like, detox medication. And I'm like, I've been sober for 21 days. Like, I don't need your detox medication. Like, you're not giving me medication that I don't need.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what is your sober date then?
December 12th of 17.
On Mikey's birthday.
Yeah. It took me 2 years to realize that. They weren't on the same side of the brain, and they never crossed paths.
That's so funny. And you picked up so many medications for her and needed to have her birthday
like day one.
That's hilarious.
It just never clicked in my head.
You're 18 and you're on a flight down to Florida for the first time And because I would assume
my 19th birthday there, because so like I left I got there December 12th, left January, like it was like the 2nd or something, or like the 3rd, because I spent New Year's there. I remember the ball dropping because a boy was like, I'm gonna kiss you, and like we went outside and kissed behind a bush. He messaged me like a year ago. I didn't answer him.
he's probably watching.
He's got a really neat tattoo though that has him linked to meth forever. Chemical compounds of it tattooed on his arm. It was actually a pretty cool tattoo, but really fucked up to ever try and stay sober, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a sign.
Yeah.
I guess it could be worse, but it's not that great.
I appreciate him though, because he gave me a coin. So like we did a coin out and everything. And so many people, because I was so young, like they wanted to push me to like actually get it my first time. I ended up getting, I think it was 3 coins in total from different people. Like a mom had bought me a coin and he bought me a coin.
Are these hope coins? Like hope chips?
Kind of, yeah. They're like the metal ones with different things on them, like the Serenity Prayer. And like his had a rose on it that said, "My heart's in my recovery." And he outlined that with a pen. It is still outlined like that to this day in my jewelry box.
You still
like,
have it?
Yeah.
You know, I got a whole like tube of them, of the fucking coins.
Sometime, because these are like the specialized ones. I really like them. I like that one. That was my favorite.
Well, then if he is watching, he's happy that you said your favorite.
Yeah. I do for that, because I held on to that in my recovery. Like I really held on to his words that like my heart was in my recovery, and that's kind of why I've stayed sober.
And how was Florida being sober? Because like I knew a bunch of people that went down there and maybe only a few got sober. Like one just relapsed and passed away. Another one, when I first got sober, I started talking to my neighbor that lived behind us, so we shared a backyard fence, and we were only like 3 weeks apart in age, so like we hit it off. And him and I both got sober at the same time. He went to Florida, I went to LA, and we would talk on the phone all the time. And when we both hit 6 months, he relapsed, and he died on his relapse because of fentanyl. So like that hurt, 'cause it was like my first loss in recovery, and losing somebody so close, it fucking sucked. So I didn't want to go to Florida, because everyone I know goes to Florida, it's rare if they stay so. I mean, there's that one guy that we had.
So many people relapse from Florida. Like I know personally on my Facebook, just from the friends that I had, at least 10 of them, 10 if not more. And I have an alumni page, and I've watched at least a dozen or more that have passed away over the last 6 years. And that's just the ones that I've seen, not even the ones I haven't seen.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, 70,000 people a year, something like that.
I mean, it definitely is rough down there. Like there's such a large population, and like I was inpatient there January to, I think it was like April sometime. I don't remember if it was the beginning or the end, but it was April.
Would they take you to outside meetings?
Yeah, sometimes we had them scheduled. I think it was 1 day a week. They also would schedule, like, if you wanted to go to a vape shop, like, you got to go do that. But, like, if you needed cigarettes, like, they went to the store and bought that for you. But you were allowed to go to a vape shop. So I vaped while I was down there so I could go to an extra store outside of rehab.
Every little bit counts to get outside the house.
Yeah, pretty much.
And plus, vaping you could do in your room.
Well, and like we had like 2 people bunked up in a room, in like when you were in rehab, like it was 2 people per room, and there was 2 rooms in the apartment building.
That's how it was for me too.
But so like drug dealers would just come pull up to the rehab and be like, yo, you want to party? And like I would watch people get in the car and just go straight from being inpatient rehab, because we got to go smoke breaks, and like it was right next to a Wawa. Like they knew we were a fucking rehab.
I miss Wawa, damn it.
road. They own the church right across the street. The men did their meetings there. We had some big meetings there. They had a big alumni we would go there for. Like, we just walk down this road in Florida. Like,
So you were allowed in Wawa next door?
not while we were inpatient. When we were outpatient, though, we definitely could stop by Wawa and go and, do our thing in the building, because that was where the inpatient people went to. They've since upgraded, and I think it's huge now. Like,
I think we're getting a Wawa.
I hope we're getting a Wawa. They say we're getting a lot.
Yeah. No, I read somewhere that we're getting a Wawa. Or maybe Mikey read somewhere that we're getting a Wawa. I'm not really sure.
They're mint coffee.
But you missed their coffee?
Yeah, they're mint coffee. They're iced coffee.
I never had it. I mean, but oh, yes, I have. I've not iced coffee, but I like their regular coffee. I used to buy the bags of it and bring it back to my house where I lived in Pennsylvania before, because I used to live in Lancaster County, and we didn't have a Wawa. Like, the closest Wawa was like 20 minutes away, so it wasn't even convenient to go to Wawa where I lived.
Oh, we had a speedway right by us too.
You had a what?
A speedway.
Oh, okay, yep.
That was the first time I had ever seen one of them. But I mean, they had like soft serve ice cream or like the yogurt stuff or something, and like a bar that you could make stuff with it. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a speedway in Mannheim where I lived in Lancaster. I lived right off of the Turnpike exit. And it was right around the corner from the Renaissance Fair. And so it was really easy to get on the highway and to drive to Jersey to get pills, because I wasn't like downtown or anything. I was already kind of halfway there. I don't know if I would have went there as much if I was. Yeah, I would. I would have drove. I would have still drove, or I would have had them shipped out to me. But I definitely would have still went.
Yeah.
Addiction, man.
Takes you to places.
Oh my God.
Anything you say you won't do, you probably will end up doing by the time you're done.
What shady things did you do? Like, because you got to keep the habit going at 18. It's not like you had a full-time job.
I did have a full-time job, actually.
What were you doing?
In a nursing home as an activities aide.
Oh, so you were graduated high school 18.
Yeah.
Were you young for your grade? Like, were you 17 when you graduated?
No, I had turned 18. Because I always turn 18 at the beginning of the year, and you always start one year and the other.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
I turned 18 for like 6 months before.
So you were working at a nursing home while still using?
I was working at a nursing home part-time before I started my meth. Like, I had been drinking, partying on the weekend, like some school nights and shit. And I got the job when I turned 18 in January, and then I think it was by April, actually, I had started using meth. So April to, when do you graduate? June?
Yeah, June.
So April to June, I had done my meth use. Well, and after, of course, but all of my end of my senior year, actually. You can tell I was high in my graduation pictures, too.
Did you look like you were on meth?
A little bit. I was starting to. By the end of that school year and like summertime beginning to be fall, like you could tell. You could definitely tell. But like once it wasn't around, like I went full time at work, and I worked the 11 to 7 shift. So I would get high all night to hang out with friends because I thought I was working such a shitty job where I didn't get to see nobody. And it just made it all that much easier to want to, be up all night.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, I'm glad you're not on it anymore, or else we wouldn't have met. And,
I was a lot angry on that, too.
What?
I was a lot angrier on that stuff, too.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. Like, paranoid. Like, did you go through any, like, psychosis?
No.
Oh, that's good.
There was one time that like I almost like got a little sketched out, and that was a dealer's house that I was messing around with, and he left to go do something. You know, I stupidly let him borrow my car to go somewhere that I didn't even really know where he was going. But he had cameras all around his house. Like, he was paranoid. He had cameras surrounding his house, and he had the world's biggest TV and like 2 others in his living room set up to all these cameras. And cameras have such shitty quality, and they already trick you sober, and then use like, what do you see? You see somebody fucking out by those cars in the middle of the street? Yeah, that makes sense at 3 a.m. That was the closest thing I got to paranoid. And then I was like, oh fuck no, I gotta leave this house. And I didn't go back for a while. Definitely didn't stay there if I was going there either after that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on and telling your story, because I know it's never easy to be like word vomit about yourself.
Yeah.
But hopefully you feel better about it after doing this.
I do. Thank you for having me.
No problem. My pleasure. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.